Hello, everyone. You are listening to the Open to Happiness podcast. I am your host, Nicoleta, and I will be joined by Joe-y Busuttil today, psychotherapist, coach, and podcaster from Melbourne, Australia. We will be talking about the relationship between men's mental health and happiness today, and I'm so looking forward to explore this topic. Hello, Joy, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Nicoletta. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm looking forward to talking to you because I feel like you and I have been dancing to this podcast interview for a while, and now that it's here, it's exciting. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm excited too. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. So, Joy, before we dive a little bit into men's mental health and happiness, would you like to share a little bit about your journey in life? Who are you and how you arrived at this junction in life, doing the beautiful work that you're doing?
Thank you. Well, I guess I was sort of like I'm in my 50s now, and I wasn't really aware of my spirituality or my mental health until probably about my late 30s when I had a relationship breakup and I had a mental sort of breakdown, and I sort of like had a lot of anxiety and I was not able to go to work, and so I decided to go and see a therapist. And just by random, I picked someone out of the phone book, and it was a therapist who asked me a very important question. And the question was, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be you. And all of a sudden, this lady took me on as like a mentor. And so, you know, when you sort of sometimes are in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
it was one of those moments where my whole life changed. And so I started sort of studying, and then I left my job and became a therapist. And my interest with men's health came because one week, three of my closest friends all committed suicide. So I
Oh,
had
gosh.
three, yeah, and I was the last one to see all three of them. So I went through this massive guilt and like, oh, did I not pick up on something? So I started a sort of like a men's sort of support group, but nothing really sort of happened. But once COVID started, it really took off, and it started to, magnify by so much. And, it went to like a few thousand people all around the world. So that was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of like been a really big thing for me. And then the other big event in my life was one day, about 4 years ago, I woke up and I couldn't walk. So one day I go to bed and I could walk and I was normal. And then in the morning I woke up and I was disabled. And so that was a really big shock because I had to sort of like learn how to walk. I had to learn how to surrender. And so all of that experience, I guess, came in really helpful to now do work in mental health and to do work with, getting people to learn about surrendering. That's another big thing that I sort of follow is how do we surrender so we don't attach to outcomes that we can't control.
Surrender has been the biggest lesson for me throughout all my challenges. And I've been through
Yes.
breast cancer a few years back, and that was, as you mentioned, brought probably for me the deepest spiritual awakening. Because I've been, tasting it now and again. You know how we
Yes.
flow on these levels of
I like that word,
consciousness. Yeah,
tasting it. Yeah,
yeah, I
I
tasted
sort
it.
I sort of say that I was given signs and I
Mhm.
avoided the signs, and so again, part of my mantra to the men is, are you noticing the signs? Because if you don't notice, then you're going to end up with a crisis. And so a lot of my work is about how men can and women can avoid the crisis because sometimes we don't think that we can, sometimes we think we're invincible.
Mm.
We don't realize that, that and that and that is telling you something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about your situation, but when I was starting to I started to notice things about my body, but I didn't really pay attention until I couldn't walk.
Yeah, of course. I completely
Yeah.
understand that because I was disconnected from my body for many years.
Right.
You're always in your mind, you're always focused on your social persona, what you achieve, what you're doing with your life, the career and studies and
Mm.
everything. There's so much focus on the outside world that
Yes.
we're not trained, we're not mentored into getting in touch with all parts of us. And the
Yeah.
identification with the body remains. based on how do I look? Do I look great? Do I present myself nice in the world? It's not necessarily about taking care of our physiological needs and treating the
Mm.
body with respect and care. And on a spiritual level, I think it's even worse because we seem to be quite disconnected from that kind of connection, that kind of faith that keeps us going, the beautiful energy that is
Yeah.
keeping us alive.
Do you mind if I ask you, like, because I think it's interesting when I meet another person that's gone through something. Do you sort of like, are you sort of in some way thankful that you went through what you went through?
It's an interesting question because, listen, a few years back, after I started to recover, I've done a face-to-face sort of workshop. And I had some friends of the friends coming over. And she just buried her husband. She was a young woman in her early 40s, I think, with two
Mm.
children, pre-puberty. And that happened in Spain. And she asked me, are you grateful for that journey of yours? Because we were talking about happiness in that little gathering. And I said, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say that I'm grateful for it. So that was 2 years ago, 2, 3 years ago. I was still very, very stiff, in terms of permitting myself to appreciate,
Yeah.
to celebrate the good parts of that negative
Mm.
experience. And she's actually relocated to Australia soon after.
Oh,
So it's an interesting connection
yes.
that you remind me of her. Yeah. And
So you were a bit, you were still a bit attached.
yes, yes. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, from distance, or the distance that I allowed myself to take from that experience, from that suffering, I can,
Mm.
without doubt, appreciate the goodness that came with it, the awakening, the ability
Yes.
to look at whatever happened from a much broader perspective, and have my life, shining somehow from a different kind of light. Yeah.
Yeah, I do really like, because I don't believe that there is any bad situations now. Because I've sort of went, my coach that I was seeing was saying, Joe, have you surrendered when I couldn't walk? Have you surrendered, Joe? And I said, yeah, I've surrendered. He goes, no, you haven't. And he just kept pushing. And I thought I knew what it meant. And I just kept saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when I got it, I started walking.
Mm.
That's how quick, that's how the
Yes,
powerful it is, right?
yes,
So
yes.
surrender for me is like when you have to trust that you're about to jump off a cliff and you have no idea where you're going to land, but you know that you're going to be okay.
Yes, because you
Yes,
you permit yourself to accept what is. It's
yes,
not fighting to challenge what's happening and wish something different. So you
yes,
are with yourself, attending yourself, the wholeness of yourself, connecting with the universe around you, and trusting the universe that things will,
yeah,
organize
yeah,
the way they have to. And this is again
yeah.
something quite frightening for people because we want that safety of knowing everything, knowing what's about to
Mm,
happen, of controlling everything. And this is
mm,
impacting our mental health. Eventually, we will
yeah.
suffer because of
I
this.
mean, that's why I wanted to ask you because it is an odd question to ask someone unless they've gone through it.
Yeah. Oh,
See, I
I,
think you
I
and I
completely
understand,
understand that.
right?
Yeah.
But other people might go, what are you talking about, right? So
Yes.
until you go, I didn't know either until I went through it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't you think as well that COVID is an opportunity for everyone to have some sort of, global moment?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's raising the collective consciousness in a way. We will feel like in this collective world, there is some new awareness arising around different aspects of our lives that we haven't, reflected on before. And I think you're
Mm,
right. You need to live it so you can understand it. I think awareness is not just the thought of thinking of something. I struggle with my clients sometimes in therapy. They think they are aware. I think
yes.
awareness is a feeling. It's a feeling deep within yourself,
Mm,
in your whole being. So you feel it in your body to the physiological sensations of that moment of having
yes.
the awareness. You think
Yeah.
about it, so you process it through your mind, but you also feel it in your heart. It's an emotion that you
Yeah.
feel with that awareness. If you don't give yourself the permission to experience that fully, then it's just a thought. I am aware
Yeah.
that it's actually 10 a.m. or it's 8 p.m.
Yeah.
in Melbourne now.
Yeah, and I think also that goes with, awareness is, I love that. It's a feeling, right? Because we have to feel it through our values, right? Through our heart or whatever. So you're right. We don't have words for that awareness, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I always sort of think it's going to be a yes or no answer. Do I want to be healthy? Yes or no. Do I want to be a good person? Yes or no. But then when you go into the story, it's the story that, so many people are stuck in the story. So I believe that during COVID, we've had two opportunities, and that is we either go to the story, and as much as I hate the word victim, but people can sometimes get caught up in the victim story, or you adapt, which is just another form of surrendering.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's COVID. Okay, what am I going to do now? Rather than, oh my God, it's COVID. I can't do this.
Yes.
So it has been interesting seeing the people that have blossomed and, been able to adapt, and then the people that have been stuck in the story. Like, some of my friends haven't changed in 2 years. They just keep complaining about Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe not everyone's ready to do it at the same time. I don't know, but it is interesting. It's an interesting time in the world with feelings and happiness and the topic of today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so beautiful that you describe this challenge, which brings a new opportunity, I think, for the whole world to reevaluate everything. Life, the universe, the earth, what are we doing, the connection, the communication, the economy, all structures, not just our lives in our little, bubble, but how we relate with our families, with the other people, with humanity. How is the humanity changing through this? And then what's going on with the world structures and institutions and all, whatever. Who are we in this? It's a beautiful opportunity. But again, I completely agree with you that some of us are still stuck in that victim mentality, and sometimes we're not ready, Joy, for that. We need to get ready. We need to suffer a bit more.
Well, maybe we're the ones that are helping them to see it. Because I really do believe.
Yes.
But something funny happened though.
Yeah.
Something happened where a good friend of mine messaged me and said, "Oh, I need to delete you because you're too happy."
And that's making him depressed.
It made him because he wasn't ready to be happy or to adapt. So you're right. It's like sometimes people just aren't ready, and when they're ready, that'll be their journey.
Yes, and we need to allow them with care and compassion to maybe take a detour, maybe go somewhere else. They will come back when they are ready. And I think this is the expression of kindness, of understanding where other people are, because we're not always on the same frequency, even in relationships, in our couple relationship, in our families, in our work environment, in us as therapists, with our clients. We need to create that holding for everyone. It's not an evaluation on ourselves. It's not a response to ourselves. We don't take it personal. It's just an understanding and acceptance of where everyone is, and we just pick them up on the way. If they want to join us, take a leg of the journey with us, and then let them go if they want to try something else. And that's the beauty of life. And I think it's triggering our own attachment issues. It's triggering our own issues as human beings all the time. And not everyone is able to open to happiness. And I think this is the essential lesson that we should all, be taught in school. You make a choice.
Totally.
You have a choice. You have a choice with how you're dealing with things, in the midst of everything.
I was going to say, part of me really does think that we have to break before we find what we, I think that we have to be what we're going through right now is the breaking of the eggs, right? All the shells are being broken until we can make the nice fluffy, omelette.
Yeah.
So some people are ready, and some people have to go through a bit of hard times where, they're yelling or they're fighting or whatever. But everyone will eventually get to that place in time where the world will transition to that next level. Because, if we look at it from an astrological perspective, the age of Aquarius is now here, and the age of Aquarius is all about being of service. So the age of Taurus was all about me, and now it's about you. So for the next 400 years, the world has to change.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I want to believe that.
Well, I have to believe it. I hope so, because especially for men have got such a long way to go.
Let's talk about that then. Men and
Let's
happiness.
talk about men.
Why do they have a longer sort of way to go comparing to women?
Well, I think men are organically inherited with what we, with shame. There's like a shame element. So there is this belief that they may not necessarily fit into a mold, or they may not fit into a stereotype that's been either brought down by their own father or by other masculine, traits that have been around them. And so what happens is that they stop themselves from being vulnerable. So there is, I don't know, I'm going to call that stubbornness. There's like a stubbornness there where they don't want to be vulnerable because they see that as weak. Right. So lots of my male clients will always start off saying, "Oh, I've never told anyone this before. I've never cried before in public, or I've never talked about my weaknesses." So, I get sort of like a bit sad going, "Oh, wow, that person has had to hold all that in." Right. So there's that element of it. They don't want to embarrass themselves in front of other men. And I think, without sounding like, I hope that the audience doesn't misunderstand me, is that I think that men are also a little bit confused by women. There's a bit of mixed, a good man will understand a woman, but there are a lot of men that don't understand. And so what happens is they can become aggressive, or they can become, opinionated. And I think that we have to move on from that. And so it's difficult to try and talk to men that are a bit stuck in that, to actually understand that we need to treat people equally. We need to love. We need to find self-acceptance. We need to be vulnerable. And I mean, it's a lot harder than I thought when I started. Some men just don't totally reject it. Well, other men get it and they transform.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful words you're using there. And I absolutely love the way you talk about equality and fairness. And we so much need it in this modern world. But coming back to men, why do you think this happens? Do you think it's a men thing, or some women have it as well? Do you think it's culturally conditioned?
Yeah.
Because the history of the humanity has taught us that for hundreds and thousands of years, men have been running the world. So what's going on in there? What's your insight as a psychotherapist?
Well, that's interesting, because I did a lot of study on. I really love the whole dynamic of men and women, and there was a period of time where women were running the world.
Yes.
Right, and then of course the church got involved. The church, and they sort of said, "No, we can't." Da, da, da. But I think that it's predominantly a male thing, and it's transgressed at a very early age. So one of the first things that you probably would notice and be aware of is when you see a boy running around and he falls over, it's very quick for someone to say, "Don't cry," right? Or, come on, toughen up, or you got to be tough. So that is what we call the mask that men have to put on at a very young age. And so that mask can be, replicated in so many different things. In the way that they see women, in the way that they see sex, in the way that they see violence, in the way that they see entitlement, in the way that they see money, status, all of those things are created by that mask.
Yes.
Now, I always ask myself, what happened to me? Because I never had a mask.
You never had one?
No, I think I was very lucky because I was brought up by my aunt. And I was the first grandchild. My aunt looked after me when Mum went to work, and I think she just influenced me. Mm-hmm. So I was very lucky because I remember I always had this equality thing in my head. Like, I could never really understand why people didn't see everyone as equal.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm just going to say that mask, it sort of filters you, because if you've got a group of men, right, playing football or whatever, and they start doing homophobic or racist things, then it's really easy for those men to just copy each other.
Yeah, that's reinforced. It's a behavior that keeps reinforcing itself. Yeah. Yeah.
So that becomes tighter and tighter and tighter. Yes. But the thing that I find more interesting is the entitlement. Like that white male entitlement, privilege, where, especially when it comes to the way that they treat women. Like with consent. With consent, that's a really big one. And with equality, and with actually just even, so many of my female friends have children and they're so tired. And I say, "Where's your husband?" And they say, "Oh, he's surfing," or "He's gone to have for a drink." And it's like, it's normal.
yeah. Well, we
You
respond
know?
to that. You see, we contribute to that. So in order to
Yeah.
change as a society, we need to start from within, from our own,
So what's your
relationship.
version of what do you think is the female version of what I just said?
The
Do you
female
think the female
version.
version is the fairy tale?
Partially
Like,
yes,
yeah.
partially yes, and I think it's without doubt a programming that it's been downloaded into our brains, and according to our no specific culture, we just respond to the world based on that kind of
Yeah.
story that we've learned, that kind of way of
Mm,
looking at life. I call it a tunnel mind. I think we are all stuck into that kind of little program that's been planted in there.
yeah.
What we don't know, and that's why I agree with you that some people are stuck in their own ways and they don't want to open to anything, to
Yeah.
new ideas,
And
to new
and they're
ways of
really
looking at
stuck,
life.
aren't they? They're really
Yeah,
stuck.
I think what they don't understand is that that's not just everything. That's just one little software placed into their brain. They
Mm,
have the opportunity to rewire their brain with new ideas, with new ways of being, with new activities, with new actions, and they can just through neuroplasticity take charge of their lives and decide who they want to be. Now coming back to your question, when you first entered therapy as a client yourself, who do you want to be? How do you want to live
mm.
your life? And if you strip yourself from all of those stories that you've digested and you think they are your life, that life script, that personal history, who are you really? Who's the real you? And
Mm.
then exercising choice and just deciding which way you want to go in life. And I think women are all over the place. You have everything
Yeah,
from
yeah.
codependency and complete submission to everything that the man would want to give them, to those that are at the other extreme, that are activist and feminist, and they just fight uh, uh, without really acknowledging the necessity of being having a partnership, being together, accepting the good and the bad, and negotiating and compromising, and communicating and understanding that we are an item, all of us together. It's
Yes.
not about us and them, it's about
Mm.
us all together, finding a
Yeah.
way of living in peace and happiness and helping each other in cooperation, and just flourishing together. It's so
Mm.
simple if you think about it, but it's
It
so
is
hard to do
simple.
it.
Well, because again, you said conditioning before, and I think power is conditioned in us. But I also, one thing that really perplexes me, and I've tried so hard to understand it, is I really support women, right? I really support women, but I don't understand when other women don't support women.
Well, we are
Like,
stuck in the same tunnel.
yeah. So I find that whole thing interesting about the whole.
Dynamic.
But I sort of have found a little shortcut to help my clients, and that is whenever clients complain or they talk about being stuck, I now just simply say to them, okay, that's interesting, but really just be aware that all you're telling yourself is that you're avoiding the work. Whenever you want to complain about something, whenever you want to not look at equality and you want to focus on that person and oh, it's not fair that this is happening, it really means that you're not looking at yourself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the only real person that you can control is you,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
if you can't be open to accepting, right, then that's about you. It's not about the
Yes.
person that's ethnic or,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I
I
think
completely agree.
men struggle with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about the men's world then. Are men happy? I mean, what is happiness to you, and what you've observed from all your work experience and doing this podcast as well?
Well, happy, like this word here, Edemonia, it
Yeah.
means fulfillment. And
Yes.
one thing that I guess, being, going through a disability, one thing that I've learned is to simplify. Right. So when I was able to walk and do all the normal things, I don't think I appreciated as much as I did when I couldn't walk. So I realized that happiness really does come from me. So that was the big turning point for me, is when I stopped looking for people, things, events, situations, material. Nothing makes me happy but me. So I can actually sit with myself and not be bored. And that was something that I guess learned from that experience.
Yeah.
Right? I think men do get bored quickly, and men also feel there is a gratification through sex. Right? So that becomes an issue, because then they get confused with, I think at the end of the day, men want to be loved, just like any women do, right? But because of the programming and the conditioning, they have to sort of fit in and do these things, right? Like, you know, for example, the culture where people that work, say, in business might go to a strip bar, right? Or they might do things that is not normally part of their value system. So for men to change, there needs to be courage to say no. Thank you for inviting me, but no, I'm not going to have to come. You know, I think we've come a long way since the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Now we're in a place where it's okay to be connected to what you want. It's okay to look at spirituality. It's okay to sort of, you know, be simple and to, you know, accept that you don't need to have a big giant mortgage and you don't need to have the latest car to feel good, right? And that's sort of my mission. It's sort of like this teaching men to just find happiness in the day to day. You know,
So
wake up in the
beautiful.
morning, and then by the time you go to bed at night, that's all you've got. So what are you going to do in that time?
Yeah, yeah, so
You
important.
know?
So coming back to the
Yeah,
present moment, empowering yourself, remaining, you know, connected with yourself. And it's so good that you talk about the identification with the material world because it's so important for us. We are all stuck in there. We run
yeah.
our
We've
lives just wanting to achieve something, titles, money, I don't know, homes, cars, whatever, the next thing, the next holiday. It's always that kind of race. We don't live
yeah,
in the present moment where happiness is, because happiness is in
yeah.
this.
I mean, look at social media.
Well, no, I don't talk about the digital version because this is a new challenge now. This is changing even what we used to struggle with in the early, I don't know, 2000 or whatever. So it's hard, but the identification with the physical body and the mind, what's going on through my mind, I'm just following that thoughts, and I think I am that, and
Mm,
I need to respond to this, material world. I need to have as much as the others, because otherwise I'm feeling inadequate. I'm feeling that I'm not just like all of the others. So it's all about I think we're working kind of in the same way. I think our work is very
yeah.
similar. We go back to
It's like
first.
validation, isn't it? It's about
Yes,
being
yes,
validated.
yes,
Because,
yes.
like, you know, just because, you know, what is, you know, what you have and what I have, what is that anyway? How do we actually measure that? How do I, you know, you could have a beautiful car, for example, and I could be riding a bike, right? And the reality is that we don't know how to, you know, happiness doesn't come from the actual material thing, does it?
No,
You know, we might feel something, but it's not going to be there all the time.
no.
And, you know, I think that surrendering has to be a part of this too, because surrendering is really just about just being okay with what is there.
Mm,
You
mm.
know, so even when something isn't, you know, that's why I really don't stipulate what's good or bad. I got rid of those words. You don't say, oh my God, that's a good day, that's a bad day. I just keep saying now it's interesting. That's an interesting day. Isn't it interesting that when I get a plate, that's what happens? Is it interesting that when I look at the blue sky, this is how I feel? So it removes that reward element of it,
Mhm.
because that, I think, has been the epidemic of the youth of today.
Yeah,
You know, the reward thing.
absolutely.
They want. And then when it comes to not having it, they have these anxiety breakouts and they don't know what
Yes,
to do. And it's,
yes.
you know, if you don't mind me sharing, like 3 weeks ago, an 8-year-old boy committed suicide. 8. Like an 8-year-old
I'm so
boy because
sorry when I
he,
hear this news. It
well,
feels like,
yeah, it had to do with what we're talking about. It was that
yeah,
whole thing where he didn't know how to cope with the news and with what's going on and people, and because, like, you're right, like they don't teach that sort of stuff at school.
no, no. We give our children a lot of science and a lot of knowledge that most of it are at no use throughout life. Very, very few of us actually
Mm,
use what we've learned in university. Look at us training as psychotherapists. You know, you
mm,
learn as you work with people in this space. You don't really learn from the textbook. It's nice to have theories. It's nice to understand what's going on, but then we need to teach our children the basics about who they are, what's going on
yes.
inside of them, how can they cope, who are they in this, you know, and
Mm,
we need to make them feel safe. And I think when you spoke earlier on about the happiness through getting stuff, I think we are all deluded that that will bring us happiness. When I get there, I'm going to be happy. When I get that, I'll be happy. When I have this, I'll be happy. It's just an illusion because it
yeah.
only stays for a second. It's the intensity of that reward that you talk about, the gratification, that is creating a false sense of happiness. Happiness is not an intensity. I thought it
Yeah.
is for so many years in my life. I
Yeah,
spent
me
most of my
too.
life deluded into
Yeah.
acquiring titles, learning more. Well, it helped me on a professional level, I must say,
Yeah.
but I recycle the same, the same knowledge. I
Well,
didn't learn anything
you're
new.
always looking, you're always looking, you're always looking. And
Yes,
so
I'm
that's the whole
searching.
ideology of
Yes,
it. It
yes,
goes really hand in hand with social media. It's always about the next thing, scrolling,
yes,
looking,
yes.
right?
It's about the
And so,
stimulation. Yeah.
yeah. And so the number one job at the moment for teenagers to young adults is to be famous.
Mm. I know
That's
this is a
the,
disease. It's a disease in itself.
so they see the
Everyone wants to be.
money.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
know. I mean, part of me doesn't. Part of me is hopeful, but then there's the other part of me that thinks, oh my God, it's like, it's such a big machine, isn't it? How
It
people are sort of
is.
caught up in that
It
whole
is.
material, look
Yes.
at me, photos, all that stuff. So I think that it just has to come with one person. You know how people say, oh, what can I do? I'm only one person. But I think that's all we have to do is just do what we can do.
Yeah.
And then look at us. Now we're two people.
Yes.
Right, and
Yes.
now your audience becomes, it's all about just doing what you can do, so then
Yes.
people can see the benefit of being authentically happy with every moment.
Absolutely. And I think it's about accepting that we can't actually change the world
Mm,
immediately, overnight, and we can't actually influence everyone. We cannot trigger an awakening. If we could teach awakening, if we could maybe create a pill for awakening and give it to people, and everyone would wake up in the morning in their ideal life when they are
mm,
fully connected with themselves, with the other people, with the universe, then we would all care. We would all care
yeah.
about ourselves and the others. So we wouldn't have these diseases that circulate at the social level. And unfortunately, it's not working that way. It's not happening that way. And the
Well,
population is increasing at a
I
rate where
know
we're
the
going to
thing that has
struggle
to
to
go,
help.
Nicoletta, is power. Power has to go. That's the big problem. If we can learn to understand that power isn't important, that power is equal, like, going back to equality, that we're all equal and we're all caring and we're all trying to make the same difference. But, power comes with money and comes with greed. So
Yes,
there is a lot of sort of, there's a lot of steps that we got to go through.
yes, because the structures of the world teach people to seek
Yeah.
power. It,
Mm.
it, it allows them to dream about feeling powerful. And if they draw their sense of importance from that power, then they
Yeah.
are very dangerous because they
Yeah.
are willing to do anything to get that importance. If you feel
Yeah.
important just
Mm.
by being with yourself and doing an act of kindness today, a simple act of kindness, checking out with someone or giving something or just smiling to someone, or I don't know, anything, maybe being kind to yourself. Start with
Mm.
yourself, that's enough. If you feel that that's important, that's sufficient for you to feel good about yourself, about your life, then you're not going to seek for importance somewhere else. And I think this is one of the most important lessons we should teach our children since they are very, very little. And we
Mm.
fail to do it. But then who's going to do it? Because the parents and the educators don't do it themselves, to themselves.
Well, do you think that, I think that there's some sort of change coming because of, well, that's why I mentioned the 8-year-old boy, because COVID showed us the unpreparedness of, like, children aren't prepared. Because we've just come out of an era of helicoptering, and we also came from it out of an era of gratification. So if a child wanted an award, he would get an award even if he came last. Right, so that was there was a period of time when everyone won an award and everyone was equal, and that was good. But what came from that is a generation of children that are not prepared for crisis.
And that's because their parents are not prepared for crisis, and their parents are not able to face the chaos of the world,
Yeah,
this
true.
organized chaos of the world. Because if we get lost ourselves in our own being, in what's going on around us, in the dynamic of relationships, in our tunnel minds, we get stuck in there and we don't
Mm,
see anything else. There's no way we can transform. And no one has transformed just like this. There are some steps you
yes.
need to go through. And first
Yeah,
of them
that's
is
true.
understanding. If you don't teach people understanding, if you don't allow them to learn through their own experience, if you want them to just follow your own ideas about life, you're just sending some more indoctrination there. So
Yeah.
everything is dogmatic, everything is just, so you reprogram and reprogram and reprogram, and there's no room for
Mm.
exit. And we exit. My terminal is mindfulness, is mindful living, it's meditation, it's breath work, it's connection with the self, it's just sitting in that kind of silence that comes
Yeah.
with
And we are,
aloneness.
and we're changing, you know, like, but I do believe that we, by doing what we do, people can witness that and then they can make their own mind up. And that
Yes.
to me is powerful. Like, I
Yes.
made a very big decision this year. I got engaged and I announced,
Congratulations.
but I got engaged to myself, right? And people were going, oh, what are you talking about? And because I really do feel honestly comfortable to say that I don't want a relationship, right? I feel very comfortable being with myself. Now, the amount of people that can't accept that, the amount of people that go, oh my God, you're going to be lonely. Oh my God, you should be with someone. And, you know, that is all part of the whole conditioning. It's like, if I meet someone, I meet someone, but I'm actually quite happy to be with myself first. And I don't think a lot of people spend time doing that. Do you know what I mean? They don't look at themselves and go, okay, what do I need to do for me? Rather than saying, I need to find someone to make me feel better. Right? So it's either a person or a thing or an event or something. And you're right. It's going to be always, it doesn't last. Right? And I have to admit, I really quite like, so I had an engagement party. I really quite liked that whole celebration of being in love with me. Right? Because in the past, I always thought I needed to be with someone. And I thought, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I meet someone? And it's not because I can't meet someone, it's because I don't want to meet someone.
Yes, you
Right?
just
And
want
it's
to
not
meet yourself. You're just discovering
yeah.
yourself for now.
Yeah. And
It's
I don't think
absolutely
people
fine.
talk about that as openly. People, again, I think that we need to open doors more for difference.
Yes,
You
yes,
know, not everyone has to be the same. That's what's going to make us get through this and heal, is to allow people to be what they need to be.
yes,
You know?
absolutely. I think
Yeah.
we are
So,
we are we are frail people. We need a safety of someone holding us. And we know this from, all our studies and experience in the clinical world. We know this. We are frail. And sometimes, because we haven't discovered ourselves, we haven't connected with that strength that you describe now in yourself. You're just now connecting with your own resources, with all the strengths that you have, what you hold within. So you are fine without being with someone next to you. You
well,
can take care of
also,
yourself. Yeah.
and I would also, like, I've just met you, right? And I feel that right now I've got you. You're there for me. So you know what I mean? Like, so I don't think people really, I don't know if people really take an awareness to what's in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, I can see you and I can connect with you. And for this time that we're together, you are mine, right? There's this bond. And so if we do that with every interaction, every situation, every tree, everything, then that's what connection is. But
Yes.
everyone's looking down at their phones. Everyone's so busy. Everyone's running around. So I find that really interesting. Again, like, just, it's okay just to sit and to smell and to feel and to touch the things that we walk past every day and don't even realize it's there.
Yes, it's so gorgeous how you talk about Joy, about presence. People lack this awareness, this understanding, the power of being present. That's the real power. The power of being
Yeah.
present with yourself, to yourself, of being in touch with yourself, because this is the only life we have, this moment, this
Yeah.
second, this
Yeah.
present moment. The rest is past, the other is maybe a projection, it's future.
I'm gonna say that it's all got, because I really do think that it was just me. The disability thing is what taught me that. I'm not gonna say that I taught myself that. It was the situation, and I believe that I sort of tell myself that, and this works for me. Like, I pretend I'm playing a video game, right? And so I'm the only one with the control. So everyone, including you, is an avatar. No one's real, only me. So it really helps me to understand that for me to experience life properly, I must 100% be inside me. Right? So I can't get upset about what's on television or what the politicians are saying or what that person's doing, because none of it's real.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
it's
So
not. We live in a
perspective, yeah,
yeah,
matrix, whatever you want to call it.
yeah. Well, in a matrix, you know, we don't know if it's
Mm.
real.
We don't
Scientists
know,
now
do
are
we?
discussing about this actually. It seems to be a
Yeah.
simulated reality. But anyway, for now, the way you talk about immersing within yourself, it's absolutely beautiful. And I can feel from distance what kind of creative work you're doing with your clients. I think they are very privileged to have you in their lives. Not to mention
Thank
all of the
you.
others, friends, family, and people that, other people that maybe have had their lives touched by you. So I'm getting from you that happiness for you is present, being with yourself, being fair, being respectful towards yourself and the other people.
Yeah.
Um,
Just,
ha-
just, I just think it's all about, I don't think it's like you said something earlier, which I think is so true, and that is, it's not complicated,
mm,
right? You know what I mean? So, being happy, think of the word, I just focus on the things that make me happy. And I just don't focus on the things that don't make me happy.
mm,
So it's interesting sometimes when clients will tell you that they keep going back to the things that don't make them happy. And you sort of say to them, well, do you think that that might make you unhappy? And they scratch their head, they go, I don't know. And it's like, sometimes it takes a bit of courage to walk away from something that's not good,
yes,
right? You might
yes,
love it, but, you have to walk away. But,
yes,
all I do really is I really know what I love, and I just really just enjoy those moments.
yes.
I'm not doing anything major, to be honest.
No.
I've just found, when I look at my past life, I used to drink a lot, and I used to go out, and I used to have a lot of sex, and I used to be in this, I'm talking about in my 20s. And I thought oh, look at me, I've got this amazing life. But in the reality, I was always alone,
Hmm.
right? Because I was empty,
Yes.
right? So when you realize how full you are, right? It's like, yeah, it's hard to explain. It's like it's this overwhelming feeling, because when you pay attention and you feel it, then nothing matters,
Mm.
like
I,
nothing.
I, I,
And
I completely get you. I understand you
yeah,
because I have this expansion in me, this
yeah,
fullness that I'm feeling all the time. It's kind of never ending. It's a
yes.
presence that is never an absence.
Well, you're alive.
Yes, yes, the aliveness, the vitality. If you want to
Mm,
connect with it, it's in every
yes.
single one of us. It's in the universe surrounding us. It's in the energy
Yeah.
flowing through us. But you need to permit yourself. That's why I'm doing this Open to Happiness podcast, trying to empower
Mm,
people and encourage people to maybe reflect on their lives differently, look at everything that's going on from a different
yes.
perspective.
I
And you
mean,
talk
you
about,
and I are doing the same thing, aren't
mm,
we? In a way, it's sort
yes,
of like
yes,
we're getting people to wake up a little bit.
yes,
So,
yes, yes.
so that's the fact that life doesn't have to be the same design.
Yeah, yeah. I think we are entertaining at the same time. We are educating. We are encouraging people, and it's a beautiful mission. I mean, it's on purpose for me.
Mm.
I don't do it for, I don't monetize. I'm not interested in anything.
Yeah, me
I just
too.
want to do it because I feel that it's touching people's lives. So when someone is calling me, even when we have sessions, some of my clients say, "Oh, I listened to that and it was interesting because it reminded me of this, and I'm working on that." And it's nice to have that kind of feedback. Yeah.
Yes,
So it's a work that is happening because I feel that I have to do it. And you mentioned
yes,
earlier on about um, clinging onto unhappiness. We do cling onto unhappiness because we are not ready to learn the lessons.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
people ask me, why do I have to suffer this way? Why is happening again? Why is it happening again? When they go through the same kind of relationship cycles and everything. Well, there is a lesson there. Let's find out. Let's learn the
Yeah,
lesson. And when you learn the lesson, then you are already detached from it.
yeah. They're avoiding paying attention. I mean, like, it's
Mm.
interesting to hear your point of view about, because in Australia we have the thing called a tall poppy syndrome. Do you have that over there in
No,
London?
no.
So what that means is, and I don't know if it's because I'm male. It means that people will support you as you go. You discover something, but then when you get to a particular level, they bring you down,
Oh,
right? Yeah. So that's an Australian thing, and it's also a male thing, right? So I do think that females are a little bit more supportive. Well, men, will go, yep, okay, I really like that. But then when you get a little bit, it becomes a bit regular, then they might find it to be repetitive or like, oh my God, he's going on again. Right. So I know that as I go through this journey, I know I'm also being challenged to, to have tough skin and to not get influenced by what other people might say, or to,
Yes.
all I can do is just walk and be who I am. And, it's
Yes.
taken me 50 years to find my purpose. Like I wish I found it earlier, but I found it now.
Well,
So
I think you're happy. You should be happy that you found it now. Many
yes.
people die without having no sense of awareness around their lives. I
Mm,
worked in many years back, decades ago, when I worked as a clinical psychologist in the medical model. I worked in palliative care, and all
mm,
my patients died one after the other. Every day there would be an empty bed, and it was so, upsetting. I so wanted to help them somehow, at least to end this journey in a different kind of way, because they were all very unfulfilled, very unhappy, ruptured relationships behind. There's so many regrets. There was no connection with the self, no understanding. What was this for? I mean, why did I
yeah.
live? What
Mm,
do I leave behind? And that's very important. I think the fact that you've connected with that, and I'm getting glimpses of that as well. I think I feel privileged, and I feel grateful every single day of my life. I thank
yeah.
God, the source, the energy, whatever, it doesn't matter how it's called. I am thankful for everything, for another beautiful day. Especially
Yes.
when I was here, I could appreciate life from a
Mm,
from a different place, when I knew
yeah.
that it might actually be very short, what's
Yeah.
left. So
I picked this picture for a reason because this year my mother passed away in February,
I'm
and
sorry.
my mother is the one that actually made up this name.
Oh.
Right? Yes, because my mother was one of those people that you're just talking about.
Mm.
So on her deathbed in palliative care, for an hour and a half, 90 minutes, she removed her mask and she was herself.
Towards the end.
It was the end,
Mm.
right? So she removed her mask of being unconditional, giving everyone what they need, and she removed and she spoke for 90 minutes and spoke the truth.
Mm.
And it was the most intense experience because that was I think, I'm going to be honest, I really do think that the reason why I am the way I am is because she's now in me.
Of course she is in you.
Yeah, so I think that again, losing my mother was a big reason to actually enjoy every moment because my mother didn't do that.
Mm. So
She
you've
was there
learned a
for,
lesson through that.
well, she was always pleasing. She's known as the unconditional person.
Mm.
She loves everyone, but so she would sacrifice all the time, right? And
Mm.
so that is a big lesson when you're actually humbled enough to witness your mother or a parent, that brought you into the world, leaving the world,
Mm.
right? And they're sitting there talking to you, telling you, she was telling me, go and live life, make sure you live every minute, right? And she's about to pass away. I mean, if you don't take that to as a sole purpose, then I don't know what I mean? It was like a message from God.
Yes.
It was this wonderful message that hit me. And so I changed. Like I really, like it really concreted. I'm going, okay, you
Mm.
know what? This is my purpose,
So
right?
beautiful.
So I don't know what would have happened if that didn't happen.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I don't know if I would have ended up at the same place but a different time.
Yeah, you might have.
Not,
Because I think
yeah.
it was a gift that your mom, gave you, left with you towards the end. It was a massive,
Yes.
and if you appreciate it, obviously,
Yes.
you open to it, and you will allow it to blossom, because it's just the
Mm.
beginning of the discovery of
Yes.
what's the meaning of this
Of
experience
life.
of life.
Yeah.
Yes, was the meaning of my mother having me,
Mm.
was the meaning of me choosing this particular family and mother and experience and journey in life.
Legacy.
Where is this taking me? Yes, it's
Yes,
beautiful.
it is. It
Beautiful.
is. But it is a shame though that you got. I mean, like I only saw it one day at the hospital, but I can't even imagine what you saw every day at the. All these people that didn't know.
It
They
was
passed.
it was tough. It was hard. It was very painful. It was very exciting in the same time, because it prompted me to search for more. to
Right.
search for understanding, to search for ways of helping them. It was, I think it was a sort of a gift as well, the whole experience, because it allowed me to go through all of those existential
Mm.
questions and awakening
Was there anything
stages.
amazing that you noticed? Was there one client or something that did have like words of wisdom for you or
Oh
anything?
yes, many, many. And
Yeah.
they were like angels coming to whisper into my
Wow.
ear personal
Yes.
messages, which I haven't understood at the time. But what
Mm.
I made notes of everything, and I obviously I've changed the way I worked, and I continue to
Mm.
train. I moved from the medical model. I mean, I could see beyond that. It's not just
Mm.
this. There must be more than that.
Yes.
And yes, it guided me. These were lights in the darkness of my life that were guiding
Yeah.
me.
Wow.
So yes, we seem to share a quite similar life experience as we're
Mm.
moving in our 50s, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful way in two different corners of the world. I've started in
Well, it's
Romania, now I'm
beautiful, isn't
in
it?
London, yeah, and you're in
Yeah.
Australia. How similar life is. I always tell people that we focus too much on differences, on individual differences, but we are essentially the same. In the
Yes.
same way we experience life, and challenges that
Mm.
come on our path
Mm.
are kind
I
of the
wanted to
same.
tell like to your audience that sometimes we may feel alone, right? Like there have been times that have felt a little bit alone, but how beautiful it is that just by a little app, right? We found each other. Do you
Yes,
know what I mean? Just this
yes,
little app. Click
yes.
and
We need to thank James Malvani because he's been smart enough to create this app, and he's been a
yes.
guest on my podcast as well a few weeks back. Fantastic young man. Yes, that's the reality of it, you know.
Yeah. So you're never
And
alone, are you? You're never
no,
alone.
no, no. But I think the aloneness is good, and
Mm.
loneliness is good as well, because we need to experience them, and
Mm.
it's natural to experience that. And we
Mm.
shouldn't feel scared, and we shouldn't put labels on them. We should take them as, what is this telling me? What is this
Mm.
discomfort that I'm experiencing now, bringing in my life? Because there is wisdom in everything that is happening, as long as we allow ourselves to remove the mask, as you say, or use my own way, open to that thing that
Yeah.
is that experience. So
Do we have time for one more question quickly?
yes, let's do it.
I wanted to ask you quickly, what is your interpretation of what women think of men?
This is a very complex topic, and
I
if you
know,
don't
just
mind, I'm going to
can you,
answer this question when
okay,
I join you into your onto your podcast. If you don't mind,
great idea.
we
Great
have
idea,
another date.
Sid. Yes.
Yes, because
Okay.
it's too complex, and we only have a few minutes, and I'd like
That's
to
actually a
wrap
good
this up.
topic.
Yes, it's a
Yes.
beautiful
Okay.
one. It's a very complex one,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
think
Okay.
please make note of it and ask me again when I
Yes,
come to yours.
I will. Because I think
um,
that answer, we need to understand that answer.
yeah, we need to, and I'll bring my own perspective. It's not the whole truth, but it's my truth, the one I live by. And obviously, it's important to me. And if any other women or men would find it a little bit, inciting, and maybe opening some avenues of exploration, that would be good.
Yeah.
So, Joyce, what a wonderful conversation. I've not done a podcast like this. I felt
Oh, thank you.
fantastic. It's beautiful,
It
absolutely
went so
beautiful.
quick.
Yes, I can't believe it's been an hour, but feel like 10 minutes for me.
See, I think you and I have got the ability to talk for hours, haven't we?
Yes, yes, that's it. It's the
Yeah.
exchange, and it's natural, and it's not forced, and it's not just any conversation. Let's do this thing. I didn't know you before, so it just
Now we know
happens.
each other.
Yes,
Now we're
now we know each other
connected.
absolutely, and we have a connection. Without that, we'll stay in touch. So we're learning from you what is happiness to you, what prevents men to be happy. We spoke a little bit about how essential relationships are for happiness, and you've been kind enough to share your own experience that the relationship with yourself is sufficient for you to be happy. If you can crack that, I think you don't really need other external happiness, other sources in the external world. We spoke about embracing happiness in difficult times, because you shared your story, how you've been challenged in your disability. And now, towards the end, as a final message, Joy, please leave everyone listening with your wisdom. How can they embrace happiness in this very changing world surrounding us?
That I believe that every breath that we take represents the same breath that any other breath represents.
Mhm.
So don't go looking for it. It's here every moment. So even when you have the worst day, there is happiness in that. Right? So you can
Yes.
find at least some gratitude or something. So, I think that there's a lot of people that are seeking something, but in reality, it's interesting how it's here now. And they think it's coming tomorrow, but no, hold on, it's here right now. This is it right now, because this is all that's real. So it really is just about enjoying, appreciating, understanding, immersing yourself in the moment.
Yes. So powerful.
Because it goes, doesn't it? It's gone.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's 1 second. The life
Yeah.
happens right now in this very second. But
Yeah.
the gift of life is that we don't only have one life. We have two and a
Yeah.
half billions of lives, because every second brings another opportunity to be alive and enjoy
Yes.
life. So in 80 years span of life, this is how much we live. So it's up to us
Yeah.
what we make of that. We can
Yeah.
just, ignore it and stay stuck in the past, or we ignore it and project something into the future because we don't have that yet and we
Yeah.
missed it. And
Yeah.
sadly, all of us, most of the time, we miss that beautiful
Yeah.
opportunity that comes with life. And I
We
think
miss
this
it's
is
the
where we should
missing.
focus. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
we miss it. I see myself how I go in trance sometimes, and I daydream. I lose myself in stuff from the past. They are still coming as much as I worked on myself. And it's a life journey. I mean, it's continuing. And I'm very excited with it. I don't mind it now. I don't reject it. I embrace it every single day because it gives me more moments of now, of here and now, of presence. And that's priceless, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Joey,
Thank
so
you.
wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for everything, for your time, for your kindness, for sharing some very personal experience with us, for giving us your gifts, all the wisdom that you brought into this podcast.
Thank you. And
I
thank you
am
for you
I'm
and for
grateful.
having this thank you for having this platform, because I think it's these platforms that allow us to start having the dialogue. So thank you.
I'm grateful for your nice words, and I'll carry on as long as I can do it. Thank you so much.
And we will see you on my podcast soon.
Yes, with pleasure.
Bye
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful conversation, but it is time to stop now. A big thanks to all of you listening, and many, many thanks to you, Joy, for joining me here today.
Thank you.